Afternoon. I start again. I'm very happy to welcome you all to our Friday meeting as part of the webinar series on nonlinear differential problems. Today, it's an honor for me to introduce the distinguished lecture delivered by Professor Fabio Zanolin from the University of Udine. Professor Zanolin's research interests include topology, nonlinear analysis, fixed point theory, dynamical systems, ordinary differential equations. His research activity is mainly devoted with profound results to the study of existence and multiplicity of solutions for boundary value problems, for equations systems, especially concerning periodic problems. In 2012, Professor Zanolin received the Agathon de Potter Award in Brussels for mathematics from the Royal Academy of Sciences of Belgium. He was principal investigator of various national PRIM projects, in particular in 2007 and 2009. One of the research units involved was Messina, carrying out together activity on ordinary differential equations and applications. Besides being a reference in the field of analysis, Professor Zanolin is a very kind person, and what one will notice most is his humble attitude and his willingness to share his knowledge with anyone. He really represents an example of life for all of us. Professor Zanolin today will speak about remarks on planar systems with monotone time mapping and their periodic perturbations. Please.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm really moved by your kind word. Okay, so I hope to merit such a really kind and sincere words. I deeply thank you. Okay, I have to say that I'm a little in difficulty because it is my first seminar, say at international level, like this series of distinguished lectures after 2019. I gave some seminars with a group, the DEG1, which is a group collecting colleagues working together in Udine, Trieste, Torino, Madrid, and other places, especially former PhD students from CISA or our universities. And but of course, in that case, the atmosphere was a little more informal. Since I have this occasion to present a general lecture, I decided to divide my talk in two parts. The first one will be, in some sense, a survey in which I would like to describe a line of research in which I have been involved, not continuously, but from time to time in the past more than 30 years. And the second part of my talk would be devoted to the presentation to some more recent results obtained in the area of dynamical systems and periodic solutions. Okay, the topic of my talk is essentially the study of periodically perturbed systems, which are a perturbation of an autonomous planar system in which there is a local or a global center. Of course, this is a classical topic which has been investigated and is still investigated by many different authors. For example, in the area of planar dynamical systems, but also in the area of Hamiltonian systems. And so there are really a huge number of contributions in this field by some important mathematicians and colleagues. And so I premise that I will apologize for the missing quotations, because otherwise I would just fill all my time for the lecture in just quotations. Okay. So what is the general setting? We have a planar system, a planar ODE system, which is autonomous, and we suppose that there is an equilibrium point, P0, P0, which is surrounded by an annular region without equilibrium point, and this annular region is filled by periodic orbits. So this is just an idea. Of course, usually the system one find in the application have some more regular structure. So there are some like ovaloids, but sometimes the structure of the level line, for example, if it is a systems of a Hamiltonian type, we have a level line or so-called energy and or the Hamiltonians, and sometimes it can be even quite complicated. And we are interested in the study of the existence or the multiplicity of periodic solution for a perturbed system, which is obtained for the system S0, as I call the one which in which the vector field is x0 and y0, adding some perturbation, which is given by some periodic, t-periodic functions. What is a crucial point of my talk is that typically in the example I'm going to consider, this perturbation will not small. Of course, there is a very interesting area of research concerning, for example, bifurcation problems. And Professor Moen already showed some interesting examples in his talk. In that case, it is also interesting to know how a solution bifurcates for example, a periodic orbit. And in this case, it's typical to add a parameter and then look what happens when the parameter changes from small values to large values. But in this case, we have some fixed P1 and P2, which can be also be large. And so other kind of periodic perturbation of the autonomous vector field will be considered as well. For example, we could have a perturbation obtained by multiplying x0 or y0 by some periodic coefficients. Typical situations of planar systems with centers are, of course, the case of global centers, but also the case of local centers. That is, we can have a situation for which there is only a neighborhood of the equilibrium point, which is filled by periodic orbit, or conversely, or say in a dual sense, there is a neighborhood of infinity which is filled by periodic orbits. These are typical situations that one can encounter. We have a local center, and then far from this center, maybe the dynamics of the autonomous system can be very complicated. And so we can construct a small annulus around this equilibrium point, or conversely, we can have a very complicated situation around the equilibrium point with many other equilibrium points, homoclinic, heteroclinic connection, and anything. And then near the infinity, we have annuli filled by periodic orbit. So the situation can be, in principle, very general. Perhaps the simplest example to produce such a kind of dynamics for autonomous system is given by the so-called Duffing or Duffing equation. So this is a very simple equation, u second plus g of u equals 0. There are many examples of the Duffing equation. To consider a case which is general enough to include also cases with singularity, because at the end I will also present some example of dynamics in presence of a singularity, for example, in the origin. We shall consider a general case in which the map G is a continuous function defined in an open interval. The open interval can be bounded or unbounded. It's not important in this moment. And we have a 0, which in turn will generate an equilibrium point for the planar system, which is associated. And the sign of the map G is that it is negative for value less than x0 and positive for values larger than x0. And we denote also by capital G the potential, so-called potential, the primitive of small g. Assuming that the limit at A and B, the ends, the edges of the interval are infinity, we have, in this case, a global center. Other interesting situations which can occur are in the study of the so-called Phi-Laplacian differential operators. If the differential operator is, for example, invertible or satisfies rather natural assumptions, we can pass to a planar Hamiltonian systems of this form, just considering the inverse. Or another interesting case comes from the study of the so-called Liénard systems in the Liénard plane, assuming differently than in the classical case of van der Pol equation, which is studied in all the textbooks of ordinary differential equation, assuming that capital F, typically in the van der Pol case, is a cubic function, an odd function, is now even. And G, for example, is odd. I consider in this case a system defined in the whole plane, not just in the strip as before. And in this case, we have the so-called reversible systems in which the orbits have a mirror symmetry with respect to the y-axis. And so we can have again a center, for example, at the origin under suitable assumptions, which are very natural, without assuming a Hamiltonian structure. Just to put a very simple observation, observe that the Hamiltonian level lines, this is a picture taken from an article with Sabatini from Trento. He found a very interesting case of a planar Hamiltonian system in which level line can be quite complicated. And so you can imagine, you can have, for example, an annular region filled by periodic orbit, but these orbits are quite, say, bent. They are not very ovoidal looking, say. And in the case of a reversible system, also even in a very simple assumption on capital F and G, we can have some interesting dynamics. This, for example, is taken from a paper with Gabriele Villari. We can have some separatrices to infinity and some a center made by some periodic orbit, but only a part of the plane is filled by periodic orbit. For the other part of the plane, we have some unbounded lines. And from the point of view of the compactification to the sphere, at the end, the phase portrait is like the one of a homoclinic to infinity. And by the way, this kind of configuration have been considered in some interesting results, for example, concerning chaotic dynamics, in which the Melnikov method is applied. The Melnikov method, for who knows the topic, is usually applied in presence of a homoclinic, but typically these homoclinic are at the origin. So now we have a homoclinic at infinity. So there is a paper recently by Messias and collaborators in which they studied this kind of configuration. Okay. So let's again consider the autonomous system and assume that we have this annular region filled by periodic orbits. Then under very natural assumption, very simple, even if the annulus can be quite complicated, it is possible to prove that the map, which associate to some say parameter defining the periodic orbits. So we have a family of periodic orbits which fill an annulus, okay, like here. And we introduce some parameter, typically finding some transversal line to the flow. And under very simple situation, essentially the transversality is enough. This comes from an argument connected to the Waszewski theory. It is possible to prove that the map, which to a parameter defining the orbit, so the orbit, the periodic orbit is denoted by gamma c. To any parameter defining the orbit gamma c, we associate the period. And typically, this period map is continuous without too many assumptions. There are still research in this area. For example, there is a paper by Marco Sabatini in 2017. I also did some work in the past with Mark Enrard and with Alessandro Fonda and Marco Sabatini. For example, in this paper in 2012, we studied some configuration in which we can apply the Poincaré-Birkhoff fixed point theorem even when the level line are not star-shaped. Okay. And so we have, again, this system. And so now I would like to show some examples which I hope can have some interest, some independent interest. And I will start with the simplest case, which is the one of the Duffing equation, as I mentioned before. By simplicity, we shall consider a map G, which is continuous. It changes sign at the origin. It is positive for x positive and negative for x negative. And I suppose that the primitive, the potential tends to infinity. In this case, we have a global center at the origin. We can define, in this case, the so-called positive and negative time mappings and the period map. In this case, the parameter which allows to define the period map is exactly essentially connected with the energy, the associated energy. Just to explain, this is the picture. Since I draw the picture at hand, I have to warn this fact. Indeed, for the Duffing equation, for the Duffing equation, in the phase plane, the trajectories are symmetric with respect to the x-axis. And so if you look the solution as a function of t, indeed we have a symmetry. Okay, with respect to the maximum point, this left part of the solution is symmetric to the right one and also the other part. So please forget the shape of the solution, which is in blue. It is just and made. It is not precise. But what is precise is the definition of tau plus of c. The tau plus of c is the distance between two consecutive zeros in a part when the solution is positive, and tau minus of c, which is given by these formulas. These are the technical formula that you can find in all the books, is the time from 1 0 to the next 0 in a part of the domain when the solution is negative. And what is C? And what are A and B? So this is simple. Essentially, we fix energy level for the potential, and then A and B are the solutions such that capital G of A and capital G of B are equal to C. Okay. And now the question is, assume that we know the behavior of these time mappings, either the positive time mapping or the negative time mapping or the period mapping. The period mapping, of course, is the sum of the positive and the negative part. And can we say something for the non-autonomous equation? For this is the question. we know an information of the period map for the autonomous equation. We would like to know something about the non-autonomous. In spite of the harmless looking nature of this problem, of course, you know, it is far from being trivial, because the simplest case, which is the linear one, you can have that for some value of p, it is easy to find solution, periodic solution. For some other frequencies, you cannot find periodic solution because you are in the case of resonance. So essentially here we are speaking of some problems which we could call of nonlinear resonance from some point of view. And I will assume that the mean value of the forcing term is 0. This is really not a restrictive condition, because we can subtract the mean value on both sides of the equation. And I will now present a list of results which are go back from the 60s to the 90s, so there are quite old ones now, but maybe they are not all of these results are well known, and I will just show some possible interesting application, I hope interesting. Just for synthesis in the presentation, I have to say that for some result, I put a footnote here, I don't know if you can see it. For some of these results, we need some extra technical condition that I will not mention, but really are some condition, for example, that small g tends to infinity or something like that. But are, if somebody is interested in the result, just can have a look of the paper, and we see that I do not forget anything of essential. I just forget some natural simple assumption. For example, g in some approaches is enough if it is continuous, because we use a functional analytic tools like fixed point or variational method or so. In some application in which you use phase plane analysis, we need that G is locally Lipschitz. But okay, these are natural technical assumptions which do not harm, say, do not change which is the real meaning of the theorems. Okay. So for all the next result, I stress the fact that there are no assumption of smallness for P of T. So large perturbations are allowed. As far as I know, the first result that goes back to Seifert. Seifert considered the case in which the primitive capital G is bounded, but essentially use a time mapping technique in this proof. Then Oppial was the first one, in my knowledge, that used exactly a time mapping technique, and then followed by Sanjeevi, who is another mathematician from Poland, of the group of Oppial. And these are typical results. For example, if the lim-inf of the positive and the negative part of the time mapping, the sum of these two lim-inf is larger than capital T, then the problem, the periodic problem, dP is the periodic problem, the forced periodic problem, the perturbed periodic problem, has at least one T-periodic solution. And so what is the geometrical meaning of this assumption? Okay, you could think to the following situation. You have think to large solutions. Large solutions for the non-autonomous. Please consider the system, the equation D sub P. So the large solution will be not able to make a complete turn in the phase plane, because if you take a solution with a very large, say, energy, the distance between two consecutive zeros in the positive part will be larger than this lim-inf. Here we have some, will be essentially of the order of this lim-inf. and the distance between two consecutive zero when the solution is negative will be also of the order very near to this other Lie-Minf. So if these two Lie-Minf as a sum give a number larger than capital T, then it means that large solutions are unable to complete a turn, a complete oscillation in the phase plane. And this gives you an a priori bound for the solution, of course. Then there are some fixed point techniques like the Poincaré-Boyle theorem or other techniques that you can use. And I personally was quite interested in this result by Oppial, which I think is almost forgotten. Indeed, it is not quoted by too many authors. And with Alessandro Fonda, of Lie-Minf. But of course, the improvement does not look quite great, let's say this way. But of course, you can imagine some systems for which the Lie sup is very large, but the Lie-Minf is small. So this can happen. And the proof was completely different, was based on a Moen continuation theorem. Another result is essentially a result of nonlinear non-resonance, was obtained with Anna Capieto and Jean Moen and published in ODIA 1995. We prove that if does not exist, okay, let's put it this way. The only condition we do not like is that the limit of the period map is capital T divided by n. So if the limit does not exist, or if the limit exists and is different than capital T divided by n, then we have always at least a periodic solution. Of course, saying that the period map as value T divided, capital T divided by n for the linear case is exactly the case of the resonance. Then there are other results using the Poincaré-Birkhoff fixed point theorem on the existence of infinitely many subharmonics when the time. So these are the typical results. Assume that the time map is oscillating, like in my paper with Anna Capieto and Jean Moen. Or the time mapping tends to 0, or the time mapping tends to infinity. So the trick is to show that either if you want to prove a priori bound, or you want to find a so-called bound set for the degree theory in the sense of Gaines and Moen, it is sufficient to prove that the level capital T divided by n is not achieved because the solution is oscillating, so the level capital T divided by n is not achieved. Or if you are looking for solutions in the subharmonic case, you look, for example, for the intersection with a value like m capital T divided by n. In this case, but of course, then you have a non-autonomous system. So we have to construct a suitable annular region in which to apply the Poincaré-Birkhoff theorem. But the idea essentially is to have a twist condition with respect to a number like mt divided by n. Why I put here m? Because I'm looking also for subharmonics. So for solution of period mt, let's say 2t, 3t, and so. Okay. Okay, now the natural issue, the natural objection that one can have about this method is natural. So what the matter, what is about this condition on the time mapping? So this is a big affair, say. It is not in general. The problem is how to relate concrete hypothesis on g of x divided by x, or on 2 capital G of x divided by x squared, which, by the way, is a typical ratio considered in many papers using variational approaches, because we have a condition on the potential. We have essentially a comparison between the potential of our equation and the quadratic one, okay, which is the potential for the linear equation. So what is the matter? What is the relation between these things? And fortunately, it was Oppial, but also other authors who provide such a relation. For example, there is this result. For Oppial provides some inequalities relating the ratios between 2 capital G of x divided by x squared and the time mapping, or between G of x divided by x and the time mapping. So, for example, we have immediately this result. Assume that the lim-inf, here it is interesting to point out, is not the lim-sup, but it is the lim-inf. If we have the lim-sup, is a classical condition a la Hammerstein, which is classical in the variational setting. But here we have a lim-inf. If the lim-inf of this ratio is less than the first eigenvalue of the Dirichlet problem, but it's only one side condition, only one side for x which tends to infinity, then the periodic problem has at least one t-periodic solution. Okay, this is just to show an example. And of course, Professor Gabriele Bonanno and all his collaborators, it is too long to mention all of these friends now. They have a lot of work concerning then existence and multiplicity result, concerning the ratios, the interchange and the interaction of 2 capital G of x divided by x squared with the eigenvalue. So from this point of view, all the results by Oppial are also an interesting connection with the different techniques using variational methods. Okay. A more recent result on this kind of topic. With this, I finish the part concerning, say, the survey, and then I'm sorry it was a little long, but it is a part I like in my test. So I apologize if I took too much time to express this kind of preferences. Okay. I would like to recommend this paper by Jean-Ma Wen, Resonance and Nonlinearity, a survey with plenty of interesting results on nonlinear so-called non-resonance. And there is a very, very recent article by Fabry and Fonda, which in some sense unifies many of the results I mentioned before. And the preprint is available in the web page of Professor Alessandro Fonda. I would like just to quote this last result of 2020, just to show that this line of research is not yet, say, finished. There is still something interesting new to say in this line of research. Okay. And finally, the study of condition on the time mapping can be also interesting from the application to PDEs, because they can be used after some comparison technique to obtain upper or lower solutions for PDEs, for example, for the Dirichlet problem. And in this way, then one can apply then some classical result on maximum principle or existence of solution for PDEs for the Dirichlet problem, and just using ODE techniques. And I would just mention, besides some old paper by Fonda, Gossetz, and myself, and Omari and myself, there is a recent paper, so not so recent, but I discovered it recently, by Xi in the transaction of the AMS, in which even the time, the term time map is not written explicitly, but indeed if you look at the formula that she uses in this paper, published in the transaction of AMS for PDEs, there are exactly the integral formula, which are so-called abelian integrals I showed before. And finally, I would like to mention a paper of Sovrano and myself in which we reconsidered, say, a very classical Edor result of Brezis Oswald for PDEs, and we included, say, in this theory using time mappings. Okay, with this I finish, and then for the next part, for the second part of my lecture. So what to do now? So the program, I hope, is enough clear. So let's study the period map associated to some planar autonomous system. So this is the program now. And of course, the simplest case is the Duffing, but there are also Liénard equations, or the so-called quadratic Liénard equation, in which there is this quadratic term, U prime square. There is, for all of these kind of equation, there is a very large and rich literature concerning the study of the centers, local centers or global centers, and their period map. And what are the so-called hot topic? If you just look on this equation or the associated planar system, there is a great deal of research, on even published on very important journals like JDE and so. For example, there is an important group in Spain, the group of Gajul, Gibre, and other collaborators. Torregrossa, they did a lot of work on this study of planar systems. What are the hot so-called topics? Isochronous centers, this is a very important topic. The monotonicity of the period map, which is the one I will go to speak now in the next, say, 10 minutes. 10 minutes, I hope that I have still 10 minutes. Critical points of the period map, and inverse problems. Inverse problems means essentially that you give me the time map, and I should be able to find the function, the potential, which gives this time map. And why are such topics interesting? In particular, the one of monotonicity of the period map, but because it can be used for studying bifurcation theorems from periodic orbit, like in the book of Guckenheimer and Holmes, or the application of Poincaré-Birkhoff fixed point theory of the Kolmogorov-Arnold-Moser theory for boundedness of solutions. And now this is the topic for my final 10 minutes, application to so-called switched systems using the theory of linked twist maps. So what is the linked twist maps? This is the geometry of linked twist maps. We have two annuli, typically in Italian we call corone circolari, so two annuli, standard annuli, in which we have two maps acting one on the first annulus, the second one on the second annulus, and they satisfy a twist condition. For example, the motion is faster on one part of the boundary and slower on the other. And it was proved by and studied by many authors like Divani, Wiggins, Ottino, and so there is even a book, the book of Sturman, Ottino, and Wiggins, how complex dynamics arise for such kind of configurations when you compose the two maps. You make the composition of two maps and we get some chaos. There are many applications also to fluid mixing. Assume that you put two fluids of different colors and then you rotate. First you rotate one, then you rotate the other in the same pool. And at the end of the story, you have a big mixing of these two colors. Or it has been studied for people working in dynamical systems on the sphere, on the torus. There is this thesis by Springham. He was a PhD student of Huygens, a quite a long PhD thesis when this property of linked twist maps is well explained. Okay, and there are previous works that I discovered from the nice book of Pedro Torres, the book of mathematical models with the singularities. Previous work by RF, really pioneering work, 1984. And recently, if you are interested in the more, say, recent advances in this area, there is a paper by Bosca, Jing, and Torres in Physica D. Okay, and what are these linked twist map? So these are two annuli. Take a path from one side to the other, apply the first map, assume that in the inner part of the annulus, the motion is slow. Say, you know, in the inner part, sorry, the motion is fast. And in the outer part of the annulus, the motion is low. So it means that the image through the map phi1, which act on the first annulus, will be like a spiral. Okay, and then we can find two compact sets such that any path going from this side to the other side in the first rectangle, call it a rectangle, is has two sub-arcs, sub-paths in H1 and H2, which are, say, transformed to new arcs connecting these two arcs, which are the boundary of this second rectangle. And now, assume you use phi2, you apply then phi2, and then this new arc will be put back on the original rectangle. And at the end, we have a situation like this, that from a gamma give as a descendant two new arcs of the same form. And then you can iterate this procedure. Is a typical procedure a la Cantor set, and you can get essentially what we call chaotic in some sense. But I would not like to use this term because there are many definitions of chaos. But this is exactly the same configuration already present in the so-called Smale horseshoe, in which the pink region are transformed in the green one. Okay. Sorry, may I have 10 minutes to conclude? I ask the organizer.
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome.
Really appreciate. Okay. Okay, again, you have this, and then this is transformed by the map. Now we have a unique map psi to something crossing the whole horseshoe. And then we have two sub-arcs which are transformed to two arcs from the bottom side to the upper side as the beginning. And then we are in this situation. We have say the set H0, the set H1. You can describe this situation like a crossing relation, or some authors call a covering relation, and you have all these possible connections, because from H0 you can go again to H0, or you can go to H1, and so and therefore we can have at the end the following trick. You give me any sequence of two symbols, for example, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, and there is at least a point which follows the same itinerary. It means that at the beginning it is in H0, then in H0 again, then in H0 again, then in H1, and so and so. Of course, I did not invent this theory. It goes back to Smail, but even maybe to Levinson, Cartwright, Littlewood, and even I do not dare to say even Poincaré, but some proofs are based on the celebrated and famous Poincaré-Miranda theorem. Because if you look the map, the rectangle H0 mapped to this vertical one, and H1 mapped to the other vertical, you can easily prove with the Poincaré-Miranda theorem that you have fixed point. Then you apply the iterate, and you have fixed point for the iterate. So in the essence, in my opinion, of course, I would not like to denigrate the work of really important work made by very important authors, but in the essence, there is something hidden and connected with the Poincaré-Miranda theorem. Okay, and then we can also get periodic sequences, that is periodic points, if the sequence is periodic. There are very important papers by Burns and Weiss, Mishaikov, Mrozek, Kennedy, York, Srebnitsky, Zgliczynski. There is the famous so-called Krakow school whose work they are working on and gave a very important contribution in this topic. Okay, and now some results. I will go fastly, and by my colleague like Papini, Piredu, Margheri, Rebelo, Lakshmi Burra, on where these are applied. And finally, recently by Papini, Villari, and myself for reversible systems. And Laboriot and Sovrano also in a still preprint form for reversible systems. Okay, and there are other approaches. One by Feltrin and Boscagin using Mawen continuation coincidence degree theory, and another by Terracini and Verzini, followed by Barutello, Boscagin, and Verzini in a paper on JD of variational nature. So this dynamical system approach is not the only one to study this kind of problem. Okay, and now about the monotone period map. Since my time is getting short, I will shift, but it is just a repetition. What are these time? And so you do not lose absolutely anything. It is just a repetition of the setting. Okay, again the meaning, and then the key result that I use is due by Cicconi. Carmen Cicconi did an interesting, beside Oppial I mentioned before, this theorem one by Oppial obtained conditions not only on the asymptotic behavior of the time mapping, but also on the monotonicity of the time mapping. But there is Cicconi who get a result which is very flexible, because it applies also in case of presence of singularity, while the result of Oppial is for function defined on the whole real line. But the result of Ciccone, you see, published in JD 1987, requires to study the sign of this polynomial. And this is a issue, because it's not easy to study the sign of this polynomial. This is really something difficult in some concrete situation. Of course, Ciccone presented nice examples for application. He included a very elegant form for the pendulum equation, but there are other cases in which it is not easy. And just to tell you the difficulty of applying Ciccone theorem, there is a paper by Yagasaki published in JDE to prove the monotonicity of the period map for this, which is called one-dimensional Schrödinger equation. So it is published 2013. it is not published 100 years ago. It's published recently, okay? And so just to prove this, for an arbitrary exponent p, he had to use Ciccone theorem. Then there is another proof by Ben-Gurion and others. And so this is still something to do. And to conclude my lecture, I would like just to present a result. I have recently result in the past 2 years, two by Lakshmi Bura, my colleague from Hyderabad in India, and the last one is with my last PhD student, Ultiana Jatta, who just concluded her PhD studies in 2020. And we applied to a model of configuration of magnetic particles for the tokamak. But I have to say honestly, I do not believe that we are able to solve the problem of say nuclear fusion, which is one of the big issues for say a clean energy of the future. Okay, it's very modest our result. But what we did, we took an example. We took an example from a paper by Cambon and others, in which they propose a model, very simplified model for the tokamak. And at the end, the potential, capital G, because you see in Ciccone, we have capital G, then the derivative, and so on. We know the capital G has this form when x0 is a real parameter, so that we have an equilibrium point and x0. Why it is important to prove that the time mapping, the period mapping is monotone? Because if we prove that the time mapping is monotone, we just move the equilibrium point to two configuration. Then we have a linked twist map gratis, a linked twist map, say geometry gratis, without any effort. Just asking that the period is sufficiently large in order to produce the desired twist. But the problem is this potential, because take into account that x0 is not x0 is just a parameter. So the variable is just x logarithm square of x. So and x squared at the denominator looks not a very complicated equation. But if we try to apply the Ciccone theorem, we get this awful expression. This is n1 is not the numerator of Ciccone, but it is related. Okay, is an expression depending on the parameter x0, but we should prove that it is positive for any choice of x0. So indeed, it is. This was all the work for the paper, essentially, not the part of chaotic, which is the chaotic part in sense is well established, but just to prove the monotonicity, studying the sign of this polynomial. And indeed, it was really a huge, painful work. But at the end, we proved that the map is strictly monotone, increasing, and so we apply immediately the result on linked twist maps. Okay. These are other papers, not by myself, on the same topic, for somebody who is interested, Margheri and Torres, Ruiz Herrera. There is a recent work by Ruiz Herrera on vaccination. It is a very chaos in case of vaccination. I hope it will not occur, but who knows. And I will conclude just for fun, no more, just for fun, showing some pictures which comes from my paper with Papini and Gabriele Villari, because for space limitation we could not put the picture in the paper, in the article, so the article is purely analytical, say, call it analytical. But there are some interesting pictures that we elaborated and would be interesting to show. And this is the example. F of x is 1/2 absolute value of x. and g of x is essentially x squared for the positive and minus x squared for the negative. So it is a so-called reversible system. And you see the period for larger orbits is smaller. This is the orbit. At the same time, for small time, they are unable to close, and for large time, they close. And this is the same, the solution depending on t. So you see the small solution are slowly oscillating. The larger solution, the larger energy solution are more oscillating, highly oscillating. This is the forcing term, the E of t, because our theory works if E is not too far from a stepwise function. And these are the two linked annuli we can construct. These are the solution under the periodic perturbation. And this is the diagram in the phase plane for the Poincare map. So you see there is a complete chaotic, say, call it chaotic, chaotic configuration. Maybe, I suppose, there are subharmonic solutions with very, very large period, but this is not in contrast with our result, because our result provides also subharmonic with very large period. So the different color depends on the different initial point. So in this case, we do not have even an attractor. Sometimes one has an attractor which attracts the solution whenever you start. Here, the solutions are diffused, more or less. And these are the solutions depending on T. For example, you see here the magenta color. Magenta color are these solutions. At least they look a little chaotic from the view. And these are other, you see, they look very near to a subharmonic, but there are some differences from time to time. There are some jumps. Okay. But this is not proved. Okay, this is not proved. We just proved that there is some complex dynamics, but we do, of course, I would not be honest to say that we prove this. This is just a funny illustration. Even I do not know if what we see is true, because it is a simulation with a computer. I do not know which is the round error, but it is just for fun. Okay, and with this, I say I apologize for taking a few minutes more. I'm really, maybe I was 5 or 10 minutes longer. I really apologize, and I thank you for your attention. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, Professor Zanolin. Now, are there questions or remarks? No questions?
I would like to put a question, if it is possible.
Yes, of course.
Hello, Fabio. My question is about essentially the first part of your lecture, the one concerning the survey about the presence of periodic solutions for non-autonomous systems.
Yeah.
And in some sense, it is related to the paper that with Elisa Sovrano that you quoted during your presentation.
This one. Yeah.
My question is about the question is this: do you think that it is possible, in some sense, to generalize your results, existence results of periodic solutions, to some partial differential equations? The type of partial differential equation that I have in mind is parabolic equations, because of its very important application in diffusion processes. It's clear that in this case, first of all, you have to say what you mean for periodic solution, periodicity in T I have in mind. And so my question is, Do you think that your approach can be generalized to the investigation of, in some sense, periodic solutions for these types of partial differential equations?
Yeah, he is indeed a very interesting question, Luisa. Thank you for the question. I confess that I'm not expert on the topic because for sure, as I said, we can use nicely this topic, but it is. I was very happy also to discover that she did the same. To find some typically upper and lower solutions for PDEs, but even some solution that you use for comparison. Because, for example, the typical trick is this: you have an equation for some on a general domain, then you essentially enlarge your domain in a larger rectangular box or like that. On the rectangular box, maybe in one dimension, or taking a big ball, you consider as a comparison a special solution of an ODE, which is maybe obtained for radially symmetric solution, or looking just in one dimension. And then if something works, if we are lucky and we know how to work, maybe we get an upper or a lower solution, or a solution to make a comparison for the PDE. But this is this is not for the reaction diffusion. I think, but I'm not sure. I think that Pierpaolo Mari in the past did some work in this direction, but in my opinion, there is still a lot to do. Maybe one could start from some. I think that Pierpaolo did really something, but it is not, as far as I know. Maybe I'm not expert in the parabolic, but I think that this area of research is not yet developed.
Maybe it is also possible to make use of some bound sets approach in the spirit that you investigated, proposed by Mawen.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed, as I mentioned, but I was very quick. I apologize. The difference between the approach due to Oppial, in which essentially one can apply the so-called Poincaré ball theorem. Essentially, you find a large disk in the plane, and you find that starting at the boundary of this large disk, the solution do not make a complete rotation. Then you have at least a fixed point for the Poincaré map. These results, like the one with Capieto, Mawen, and myself, Fonda and myself, and so, are use a more advanced technique, because what is the key difference between here the Lim-Infeld and the Lim-Sup? Maybe I can show with this picture, okay? It is just sufficient to prove that there is some special, very special value of C, such that you do not hit this resonance condition. And so this is essentially, in the language of bound sets, is essentially the same as to say that there is a particular boundary which is not touched by the solutions. And then the theory of constant degree applies. So this is the advantage of using, say, a functional analytic tools combined with the phase plane analysis. The result of Oppial, really, I greatly admire the result of Oppial, because essentially for people expert in the topic, this is the condition of being below the first branch of the denser Fuchs spectrum. If you write it in an equivalent form for a piecewise linear system, this gives you just that you are below the first curve of the denser Fuchs spectrum for the periodic problem. It is really, in my opinion, it is really pioneering that he obtained this result. But the application was not explicit. Was not there are just the conditions on time map which are obscure. And using a function analytic tool, it is much better. You do not need to assume the local ellipsis condition on G. You do not need to work with too much phase plane analysis. So essentially, you can take the how people say the best of two worlds, because we use a functional analysis for the approach, Lorentz-Schauder and coincidence degree on one side, and then for the computations, we can use some phase plane analysis. So and with this we prove the existence of some bound set. So I believe that your idea is correct, but if you ask me technically how to do, sincerely I do not. I do not know, but I think it is interesting to think about this. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there other questions?
May I have just a side remark, Giusy?
Please.
This is a side remark, Fabio. As usual, your talk is wonderful. I just would like to speak about Carmen Ciccone, because I was knowing his work and I met him in Moscow. Actually, I was thinking, to be honest, that he was a lady by the name Carmen. And this is not the case. And he told me that his family comes from Sicily and his real name is Carmelo Ciccone. And that's it. I don't know if other people know Carmelo Ciccone. Then he changed the name, but I don't know the reason. And after this deep, contribution to the talk, I thank you again, Fabio.
Oh, I thank you. I thank you and Duccio, because our paper came together, I say. And I'm sorry that I know that other people do not care of the peculiar idiosyncrasy of the single persons, but it is something that we did some kind of simulation and we have some pictures, but we never put in a paper because of restrictions. Now it is almost difficult to publish because they ask you to cut this, cut that, and so where to show the picture concerning our result. So this was the possibility. Okay.
To be honest, this was a surprise also for me. This is not in the paper, though. What's going on over there? This is not in the paper, but I remember that you were showing me more of this. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Other comments or questions? If not, I wish to thank again Professor Zanorin